Got the tea flowing here. My Bob Ross mug is going. It is Friday night at 8:25, and we're about to talk some property taxes. Woohoo! It's getting crazy up here at the office. It's a big old party. So anyway, I just wanted to go live here because at 5 o'clock today, the Tarrant County Appraisal District released their 2020 tax values. And we were on it like white on rice, looking up the values, checking it out. I've been studying the numbers. I've been getting an email ready for our clients, the people we're protesting for free. And I've been trying to figure out what's going to happen and what the game plan is. And we've got a handle on it pretty well. And some of the stuff is just insane. You won't believe it. It's not what you think. But I'm going to show you exactly what's going on. If you're in Tarrant County, I'm going to show you exactly how to get your hands on your blue notice right now. And I'm going to tell you what they are doing with your property tax values. So here we go. I'm going to look that way because it'll just be a little easier. You'll get to look at my left ear for a while. Here we go. All right. So you go to tad.org. Go here, find your, go to property address, and you just type in your address. After you do that, you will find the next screen. Just click that account number, and I'll show you what's going on. All right. Bear with me. I'm going to break down the values. I'm going to tell you exactly what to expect for your value. I'm going to tell you how to get your hands on your value. But I need to explain the whole page because some of the stuff is a little bit complicated. So I'm going to explain the complicated part. Then I'm gonna get it really simple. I'm just going to give you the nugget takeaway. But the nugget takeaway won't make sense unless I'm explaining everything. Okay. So starting from the top, there are some things that you may see that are different on your page than what is on here, but you've just got regular location information, nothing big to talk about there. Right here, these are the taxing entities that receive the revenue when you pay your property tax bill. That's where your money actually goes, okay? And then you can scroll down. If I am registered to protest for you, then you're going to see my name right there. And here are some things that are a little bit different for some people, okay? So I'm going to come right back to that. First, I want to come down here. You've got a mailing address, that sort of thing. And this blank is the day that you bought your house. Most likely, it could be a day that you refinance, whatever day it is. It's a day that something changed on your deed records. This is the section that I want to get to. This gives you a little bit more information than it'll put it into context of what we're about to go over here in just a second. So here's the drum roll. You've got this line right here. It says 2020. This number right here is the number that they are proposing for your property tax value. That's the number. That's the number we've all been waiting for, and it's right there. Okay. It's a little confusing, so I'm going to explain something here. I'm glad that this account is the way it is because there are a number of things that this account that could be confusing if your account looks like this one. Well, I want you to notice something. Last year, this was 2019's value right here. Let me see if I can increase the size a little bit. Yeah, it's going to help a little bit. All right, right there. That was 2019's value. I want you to see something. 2020's value on this particular account is exactly the same as 2019's value, okay? So that's kind of interesting. I think a lot of people are going to see that. Now, those two values are more than likely going to be exactly identical if you protested last year and won, okay? For most people, it's not going to be a hard and fast across the board. But for most people, if you protested last year and won, from what I'm seeing so far, that value is the same as this value. The reason is because the SB2, the new property tax reform bill, allows the appraisal districts a little extra leniency to keep those values the same if you protested last year and won. Okay, so that's part of it. However, for this particular account, even though that value did not change at all, the taxes on this account are going to increase, and they're going to increase pretty significantly. And let me show you why. It's because this value right here is different from this value. Now, The appraisal district's going to catch some heat for this, but it's outside of their control. They can't do anything about this. What this is this is the difference that you are going to have if your property tax value has been skyrocketing year after year after year, and you're getting some protection because of the homestead exemption that you filed on your property. So if you notice a difference between this number and this number, the only reason why you're going to see, no, I'm sorry. Let me back up for a second. If you notice the difference between this number and this number, the only reason why you're seeing that is because if you scroll down here, you'll see that there is an exemption filed on your property. You may see a homestead exemption here. You may see a disability exemption. You will not, if you have an over 65 exemption, you're not going to see it advertised here because it's illegal for them to display that exemption, but you could have an over 65 exemption. It's not displaying here. So what's happened is, because I've got this filed on the property, even though last year they thought my house was worth $181,000, the value was being suppressed because I was getting a reduction because of the homestead exemption. So even though this value stays the same year after year, this value can go up, and it's because of the homestead exemption. Let me tell you, if I did not have the homestead exemption on this property, then these two values would be the same 100% of the time. These values would be the same 100% of the time if I did not have a homestead exemption on the property. Okay, so their opinion of the value of the house did not go up at all, but this did, and the reason why is because that homestead exemption is only allowed to increase 10% per year. So what happened is the increase from this number to this number exceeded 10%. So what happened is this number capped out at 10% growth. And so then those two numbers were different. Well, the next year, let me just show you. The next year, it did not happen like that. Oh my gosh. The next year did not happen like that. So if you just take this year and you add 10% to it, the easiest way to do that is just to take that number, 170,500 times 1.1. It equals 187,550. So what happened is the value did the difference between this number and this number was less than 10%. So it capped out at the 10% number. So now these numbers are back even again. So my taxes are going to go up on this property, even though their opinion of the value didn't change. Okay. All right. So there's that. Now let me show you something. For most people, I believe you're not going to get a blue value notice, and it's because this number did not change. Okay, but if there is a difference between these numbers and it's more than $1,000, you're going to get a value notice. Okay, so let me show you where to get your value notice. You scroll all the way up to the very top, and if you're going to get a value notice, you're going to see a link for it right here. It says View Documents. This year they've done something different. Well, they've done a lot of things different, but this is one thing that's really different. You click that button right there, and you will get to see your actual blue value notice. However, they've done a good thing by what's it called? Redacting certain private information. If the information if there's not a law that prevents them from disclosing it, chances are it's going to be on this sheet of paper. This is the exact blue value notice you're going to get in the mail, if you're going to get one, unless you've got a tax agent protesting for you. If you've got a tax agent protesting for you, like me, then more than likely they already know. They know that we're going to protest for you, so they're probably not going to send you the value notice. But you can access it just like this. Okay, so here's your value notice. Again, you're not going to have. Let's see. You're not going to have this button right here unless let me go back, just reviewing just a little bit, unless this value went up more than $1,000. Okay, so I've shown you that. Let me tell you what's going to happen for a lot of you that did not protest last year, or you didn't win. Okay, we won 90% of our protests, and it was like a $17,000 reduction on average. But there's 10% or so that we didn't get a reduction on, and it's just because the market value had increased and TAD had their number. It was really fair, or it should have been higher than they proposed. So in those cases, if I've seen a number of these accounts already, guys, they bent over backwards in an attempt to not raise values. And I can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth, but it's absolutely true. for a ton of you guys, you will see this value $1 less than this value. That's exactly, that's right. The 2020 value for many, 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 many people is just $1 more than last year's value. Let me tell you why they did that. Number one, they couldn't keep it exactly the same because you didn't protest and win last year. Okay, so there's that. They couldn't justify keeping the value the same because of that provision in the law. And the law requires them to reappraise the property every year. So I don't know this for sure. I'm not an attorney. I don't know for sure, but I think what happened is they looked at the law and they said, look, how can we justify not increasing values? Because they're trying to keep people from going down there and protesting in person. I'll tell you about some other wacky stuff they're doing. It's kind of funny. But they're trying to do everything they can to just keep everybody at home so that we don't have so that they're not playing a part in continuing the health crisis. So they had to reappraise the property. So this value had to change. Oops. And so I think what probably happened is their justification for the or their way to comply with the law, but also maintain a high priority to for health in the midst of this whole issue and understanding the economic impact of this was just to raise this $1. So I've seen that on a number of accounts, and I'm like, man, that blows my mind. So even if this number increased, if this number over here did not increase by more than $1,000, you're not going to see the value notice. Let's get back to the value notice. I'm going to break that down for you. Then I'll answer any questions you have. So I'll get value notice. If you click that button, you click here, you get to see the blue value notice. And I don't know why I yell. I get excited. Why do I get excited about property tax stuff? It's really weird. On a Friday night, it's the Bob Ross tea that's doing it. It's not Bob Ross. It's a Bob Ross mug. Anyway, here we go. That's exciting stuff. All right, so here's the blue value notice. On this value notice, this is the number right here that you want to pay attention to. This is the number that the appraisal district has control of. This is the number. I want to increase it just so you can kind of see. This is the number, what they think the value of your property is. This is their opinion of the value. Now, if this number is higher than this number, it's only because this number is actually, it's lower because you have a homestead exemption filed on the property. And that homestead exemption is preventing that value from going up and being equal to this. If you didn't have a homestead exemption filed on the property, then they would be taxing you on the full thing. On this property, both values are the same because the last year's homestead exempt value did not raise more than 10%. Okay. Now let me just tell you one thing right off the bat. I've been fighting tooth and nail to get this changed. I've actually tried to get a bill passed with the Texas legislature to get this changed. All the attorneys looked into it and the lawmakers looked into it, and it's impossible. Okay. The issue that I'm referring to is this word right here. They chose the wrong word. This has nothing to do with an appraisal. This is they literally have the wrong terminology on the form. This should say 2020 homestead capped value. And if you were just to cross that out and write homestead cap value, I think this would make a whole lot more sense to most people. So there's that. This is this year's value right there. This is last year's market value. That's what they thought your house was worth last year. And this is the value that you actually paid taxes on. And it's going to be less than that market value because if you have a homestead exemption filed on it. All right. So all these things right here, this is exactly what I was showing you on the previous page, where those are the entities that receive your tax value or your tax revenue. And over here, you'll see these estimated tax amounts. Now, those estimated tax amounts are 100% wrong. I can guarantee it. Okay. This 2020 estimated tax, that's not going to be the amount you pay come October, November, or whenever they readjust your escrow account. This number's wrong because we don't know what the tax rates are going to be. Okay. And then if you scroll down, there's information they're not going to disclose because this is public information. You can go on and see anybody's property tax value statement, but there you have it. That's how you can find your value. Again, I'm just going to recap for just a second. If you protested last year and won, your 2020 property tax value, your market value is almost I'm almost positive it's going to be the same as last year for the vast majority of people. If you did not protest last year and win, there are a ton of people whose value just went up $1. It's because they're trying to comply with the law. At the same time, they're trying to not exacerbate the issues that are going on in our world today. And I commend them for this. This is one reason. I've said it so many times, guys. I've said it so many times. I would not be able to help the people that I help and that our company helps for free if it wasn't for the generosity of these people. This just reflects it. They're not perfect. They deserve criticism. They deserve to be held accountable in the areas that they fault on. But there are a lot of people in that organization that have good hearts, and they're just looking for an excuse to help people. I know that's not a popular thing to say, but that's the truth. I will give them heat, and I'll hold them accountable, but I'll also give them praise where praise is due. So there you go. All right. So I'm going to take a breath here, answer any questions you have. I've got a few questions in here, and I will take a sip of my tea out of my Bob Ross mug, and let's see what we got. Okay. If you make a comment here, I will probably show it on the screen if that's okay. Maybe I can do that. Let's see here. I don't know. All right, here's the question. Sean says, my improvement number went up, but the land value went down for a net increase of about $4,000. Sean, I would love for you to comment again and let me know, did you protest last year? Okay, so part of this, guys, I don't know everything. I just got access to the data. I've been actually combing over it, trying to make sense of it, trying to figure out what the appraisal district did because they don't tell anybody. And I'm just trying to make sense of it. So Sean's whole value went up $4,000. But here's the thing. Let me go back to this. I'm going to explain something real quick. Mary, no, file your host exemptions. I'll come back to Mary. All right. So let me explain this. I ignored a lot of stuff on this page. And the reason why I ignored it is because most of it is useless information. The property tax code itself is the biggest enemy of this whole property tax situation. And that's the reason why I knocked on Matt Krause's door, State Representative Matt Krause's door, and I said, hey, Matt, there's so many issues with this property tax system. How do we fix it permanently? And I said, here's all the issues, and here are all these ideas I have of what we can do to fix it. And Matt Krause was like, you know what, man? Let's write a tax bill. Let's write a tax reform bill. And that dude put me in contact with his staff. They took a ton of our suggestions. They wrote the bill, and we got the thing passed. And the reason is because of lunacy like this. This is they break down your value, and they try to show you what the improvement value and the land value would be separately. They try and attribute. So in other words, all they're doing is they're saying, hey, this is what we think your property is worth. And this is how much we attribute to the land value, and this is how much we attribute to the improvement value. If you add these two numbers together, if you add the land and the improvement, you're going to get this total market value right there. Now, the reason why they do that, there are a couple of reasons, but the only reason you need to pay attention to it is that the property tax code tells them to do it, so they do it, whether it makes sense or not. It doesn't make sense because what we're trying to do is value property according to what the market value is. The market value, the definition of market value is what somebody's willing to pay for the property. Well, guess what, guys? Nobody is out there paying for just the structure. Okay, plenty of people build houses, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about after the house is built, how much could you sell that house for on the open market? It's not the construction value. It's not the construction cost. It's the resale value, and you can't resell the structure separate from the land, so you can't come up with any comparable sales. So these numbers are completely ridiculous. You can't come up with it. And for most of them, there's not empty lots in subdivisions that are just reselling like crazy for them to establish this value. So that's a long answer to tell you, Sean, just completely ignore this stuff. It's crazy. It's lunacy. It will probably not do you any good in any protest. The odds that it might do you good are like 0.5%. The only thing that they care about is this market value number. You can't protest this number. You can't protest the homestead cap value, which they incorrectly label the appraised value. You cannot protest that number. You can't really protest land or improvement. The only thing you can really protest is total market value. Now, I will say, if there's somebody on here that's a property tax nerd like me, then you're going to know that I oversimplified that quite a bit. But I've got to speak to the 97, 99% of people out there that are listening to this. And that is absolutely true for those folks. Okay. So that's the difference between those. I'm going to scroll back up. I'm going to see what other kinds of questions we have. Also, will mention this. We've got emails flying out the door right now. We got tons and tons, thousands and thousands of emails that we're sending out right now. If you have questions and I don't get to it tonight, I'll sit here for a while tonight and answer your questions. But if I don't get to it, I've already scheduled another live stream for Wednesday at 10 a.m. We're going to learn a whole bunch between now and then, and we're going to get a bunch of questions, and I'm going to try and answer all of them Wednesday at 10 a.m. But here, let me just keep going down here. Sean got that one knocked out. Mr. 2477 says, I did a refinance a while back. And he says, I did a refinance a while back in November last year. Can I claim that value? Absolutely, you can. Now, the value, it's not going to be the loan amount. It's going to be what the property appraised for last year during that refinance. You got to take the appraisal. You need all the pages of the appraisal. I've brought in just the pages that matter, and they're like, no, we want to see the appraiser's signature. So all the pages of that appraisal. But just do yourself a favor and check out what I just showed you on how to find your value, and just verify that the number on that appraisal is indeed lower than what they're proposing, because there's a good chance that they've tried to figure out how to keep your value low. Somebody else, Jimmy says, what if my value actually went down? Jimmy, you're not alone. I'll tell you what, look, you can curse the appraisal district most years or for things, or what, there's plenty of things to gripe about. But this year, from what I'm seeing, look, those guys up there have a thankless job. Think about how crappy it's got to be just to deal with people's complaints about their property tax values. Guys, they get treated like dirt. This year, they have bent over backwards. I don't know if it's because we've got a new board or what. I don't know. I'll tell you, before we had the new board, I would go there and protest, and I swear to you, it felt like they were looking for an excuse to give me a reduction on the value. I just had to learn how to present the data in a way that would give them that excuse to lower the value, and they couldn't tell me how to do it. So anyway, so Jimmy, give them a shout out. Do that next time you give them a shout. All right, Mary. So you are saying we shouldn't file for a homestead exemption? No, Mary, file your homestead exemption. What I'm saying is, I was telling everybody about, there's a difference between these values right here. And here's the thing: if I would not have had a homestead exemption on this property, there wouldn't be a difference between those values. But the lower one wouldn't be the one that would stick. It would be, both of those values would have been $181,000. So yeah, it's going up this year, but it would have been this high last year if I wouldn't have had a homestead exemption. So absolutely, file all the exemptions you can get. Guys, the amount, and let me show you, if you're not sure if you have a homestead exemption on your property or not, scroll down, and it's at the very bottom of this thing. This won't tell you if you have an over 65 exemption, but it will tell you if you have a homestead exemption. So check it out. But the amount of reduction you're going to get because you have an exemption is going to absolutely dwarf any amount of reduction in actual savings that you would get through protesting. For most people, the exemptions save people tons and tons of money. All right, Sean says, yes, I protested. You send me some money. Thanks. You got it, Sean. Well, Sean, I don't know what happened, bud. Look, here's the thing: because of the way the law is written, if there is data out there, significant data to justify an increase, odds are they're still going to increase it. Okay, if they can't ignore the evidence, but if they can somehow justify ignoring the evidence, then they're going to keep it the same, or they're just going to raise it $1. Amber says, you protested for us last year, and our value stayed the same this year. Thank you for all that you do. You got it, Amber. Now, here's the thing, guys. Look, I am going to say this. If you do not want me or a tax agent to protest for you, and you think that they've given you a fair value, stick with it. Stick with it, okay? For everybody else that I'm protesting for, or that you've got a tax agent protesting for, you need to know I have got an avenue to protest with them where I don't have to see people face to face. So I'm still going to protest on every single account. Now I may not go, scrounge for photos like I would before and just and force it quite like I did before, because quite frankly, I see them, they're going out of their way to try and make this fair. But I'm still going to protest on everything. And I'm going to get a reduction if I can get a reduction. I don't care if it stayed the same. We got to keep them in check. But I will say this: if you're not, do the electronic protest, the instant answer, do it over the phone. But if it's a fair value, don't go taking your photos down there and try and get them down even further if it's fair, because this year's a little different. We do have other things to consider, the health factor. They're trying to keep their staff safe, and I get that. But by all means, do the electronic thing. If I'm protesting for you again, I'm gonna protest. I don't care if the value stayed the same or not. Jane says, my total appraised value is higher than what we paid for our home. Can they make us pay property taxes on the higher amount? Okay, so Jane, I'm gonna answer your question using correct terminology, and then I'm gonna decode it to terminology that actually makes sense. So Jane, if your appraised value is higher than what you paid for the home, then it depends on when you bought your home. Okay, if you bought your home after January 1st, 2019, and I would even go to say this year, I would say if you bought it in 2018, then if you bought it in 2019, then no, you shouldn't be paying more than you bought for your house. Okay, unless you bought it from like mom and dad or something. There was some kind of weird non-arm's length transaction or some kind of distressed transaction. But for most people, if you're paying taxes on an amount above what you paid for the property and you didn't purchase your house last year, they can absolutely do that. Okay, if you bought it last year, though, you need to get them down to whatever your purchase price was. Okay, now she said appraised value. I would call that the homestead capped value. That's the terminology that makes sense to people. That's actually accurate. The other side of it is the market value, and the market value is what you really need to pay attention to, because you can't protest the appraised value. If you protest the market value and it goes below the appraised value, I hate even saying that word, it just causes confusion. I can feel it. If the market value goes below the homestead capped value, then both will go down. But the number that you're focused on is the market value. All right. Hope that makes sense, Jane. Let me know if it doesn't. I got hit with a 10% increase, second year in a row. Bob, it's because, now here's the thing, Bob. If you got hit with that increase the second year in a row, pay attention to what the market value was. That market value, the odds of it being 10% on the dot are really, really low. Chances are you're looking at the appraised value, and that number, it's going to look like I showed you over here. That number, you have no control over it. Look, they kept this market value the same. Kept this market value the same 2 years in a row. They did not increase my value. This is the only number that they have control over, is this number right here. They kept it the same. However, this number still went up. If this number was high, look, $187,000, I think is the, here, 10% above this number is 187,550. Let's just say hypothetically, if this number was 190 and this number was 190, what would have happened is this number would have gone from 170 and it would have increased 10% exactly. And this number right here would be 187,550, because that's the limitation that's put on it by your homestead exemption. The appraisal district doesn't have any control over that. Okay. If this number over here on the right went up more than $1,000, you're going to get a value notice, and you can just scroll up here and click this button right there to see your value notice. Okay. That's where it's at. Bam. You're going to be able to see it right there. Okay. I hope that makes sense. Now there is a chance that if your house legitimately went up in value because the surrounding sales supported a higher value here, there is a chance it went up 10% or more. You just never know. Okay, so that is possible. I don't want to discount that. It's just that when you say 10%, it's usually because that number right there is going up 10%. That's usually what it is. And that's the homestead cap value. The appraisal district doesn't have any control over that. Anyway, all right, moving on. Let's see. I scrolled, and boy, these questions are coming in, and I will have to go home at some time tonight. My wife. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh my goodness, I scrolled way past that last one, and I got a little bit of it. All right, there's Bob's. I'm going to answer these quick. All right. How do we get to the page you're projecting on the screen? Go to tad.org, look up your address, and then click on your property. And then if your tax value went up more than 10%, and I use tax value because it's if the taxable value, which is labeled as appraisal value, if it went up more than went up more than $1,000, then that will show right there. If it didn't go up more than $1,000, you just have to scroll down and you'll see this is the number that they propose for your value right there. Okay, not everybody has the same screen. Okay, there's that one. Let's see. There you go, Andy. Robin says, you saved me a ton last year, and thank you. I sent my protest to y'all yesterday. Will I get a confirmation email that you received it? Robin, chances are that there's good chance you're getting an email tonight from me. Okay. But yes, just hang on. We're a little bit inundated already, but we are hiring more staff, and so we're going to get our feet under us really soon. Jody says, when did you buy it? I don't know who she's talking about. Michelle says, thank you for handling my protest every year. You got it, Michelle. We're here for you. Amber says, she's answering someone else's questions. Jane says, we had it built in 2019. All right, Jane. Here's the... Yeah, if you had it built in 2019, okay, here's something that could be happening with you, Jane. If you owned the lot previous years and then you just built the structure on top of it, then there was no change on the deed. So the appraisal district has no idea what that structure cost you, okay? They don't have your settlement statement because it wasn't triggered. And Texas is a non-disclosure state. So in this situation, you're losing. What you need to do is you need to show them either what your final appraisal was once you got that house built, got the thing refinanced or whatever. I'm not sure. Everybody's construction situation is different. I don't even know if that's your situation. If you bought the land and built the house in the same year, then you just need to send in your settlement statement. You can send it in to me. I can help you, or you can just email it to res@tad.org. Make sure to include your account number. Megan says, where can we see what the appraisal was for 2019? Megan, the word appraisal is just a confusing word altogether. If you go here, then 2019 is this row right here. You just go to tad.org, look up your property with the property address, and then this is what they think it was actually worth last year, okay? This number is what it was, because if you had a homestead exemption, those numbers are going to be a little bit different. You'll have to just rewind once I get done with this and check it out if you want a little bit more information on that. I'm going to keep moving. All right. Let's see. Leanne, my market value went down, but the appraised value went up. You protested for me last year, but it wasn't successful. Well, guess what, Leanne? This is another thing. I didn't mention this, okay? What if, okay, let's just hypothetically say, what if this number was 200,000 and this number was, well, let's say, what if this number was $200,000 last year, okay? And then what if this year they said that the value of it was $190,000? Well, guess what? This number right here, if it's going to keep going up until it catches up with this number, it's going to keep going up. So if this number was 190, let's say if this number is 200 and this one was 190, then this one's going to go up until it catches up with this number. However, it's capped out at 10% growth per year. So I know I'm throwing out a hypothetical. I'm not a number guy. If you're not a number person, then it just sounds like I'm speaking a different language. I get it. But that number would have stopped at 187 because it's capped out at 10% growth. I hope that makes sense. Rewind it if it doesn't, and then you can holler at me. I'll be happy to break it down a little bit more for you. But that's what probably happened for you. Nicholas, do we have to sign up again this year if you're listed under agent? No. If I'm listed on your website on the website, you're totally good. That's your verification. You're getting an email from me tonight, most likely, if I am registered on your account. And if you're not registered on my account, but you're somehow in my system, I'll be sending out an email. Guys, the appraisal district messed up on like 2,000 accounts. We're going to have to refile into the 2,000 accounts, but we're on it. We've identified which ones it is, and they're working with us. And I don't want to dog them too much because it's going to end well, but I will send out emails if we need a signature or need anything from you. Okay. Michelle Stringer. So I just looked mine up and my total market value went down $1,000. So that's good, right? Yeah, Michelle. That's freaking awesome. I'm so pumped. Guys, it went down. Look. Those values are supposed to be what the value was on January 1st. Okay. This whole market mess was not happening on January 1st. Okay. The whole COVID thing, guys, property values have been skyrocketing still. Okay. So, Michelle, yes, Tad hooked you up. All right. You don't want to praise them too much, but look, they're trying. They're trying. You got to commend them for that. Can you explain how the senior exemption affects the value? Yes, Joey. Let me come back to senior exemption because it doesn't apply to a lot of people, and there's a couple little details I'm a little bit foggy on, and so let me come back to that. Okay. What if your house has severe foundation issues? The property value is completely wrong on my home. All right, prosperity now. If you have severe foundation issues, look, the national, this is going to sound crazy, but these are the numbers that I've been able to put my finger on. The national average for foundation repair is somewhere in the ballpark of like $3,400. Now, I have seen foundation issues that require tunneling and require all sorts of insane things, have pipes breaking and all sorts of stuff. I've seen it increase to, be more like $20,000-$30,000 worth of foundation issues. Now, if that's your situation, then get a quote, and then it's probably a good idea to go ahead and protest and take it the formal route and go the whole 9 yards and make sure to submit that repair invoice. If it's not that much, let's say if it's only 3,000 or 5,000 or even 10,000, but the market data, the comparable sales support a value 11,000 more than your property, then and it more than yours is valued at, then it's not going to do you any good. So it all just kind of depends on how the data lies. And this year, TAD is not increasing values all that much. So you just have to do the math. It depends on how severe your foundation issue is. Now, with foundation issues, there are extraneous issues that happen. As you jack up a house, the roof can mess up, windows break. So you want to take all that into account. Michelle says, what's crazy is in 5 years since I bought my house, it has gone up $100,000. Man, you're not alone there, Michelle. I'm laughing because that's just kind of how I react. But I've talked to enough people in enough pain that are actually, it's not funny at all. So I just have to mention that. It's just crazy. It's shocking. Amber says, tad.org. And, okay, she's answering someone's question. There's Crystal saying that her total market value from 2019 to 2020 increased by $1,200, and she protested last year and won. And she says, "Thank you, bye." Where does that number come from? And if I should only be at $1, no, I'm not, Chris. I'm not saying everybody's $1 different. I'm not saying everybody's value stayed the same. The fact that yours increased by $1,200, it's not a lot compared to a lot of people, but maybe this year it is. And you protest. I'll protest for you. Protest on your own, whatever. I mean, protest. Do the instant answer thing. Don't accept it if you don't like it. Escalate it, take it to the next level. You can go the whole 9 yards. I've got some videos that explain exactly how to do it. But if you don't think that's fair, then there's a good chance you're right. You definitely should protest if that's your situation. Crystal, you got it. My values went up 10% each year for the last 4 years. Thank goodness. So Jimmy's praising his. I mean, it is a good thing when your property value goes up. But there could be some sarcasm in there because it doesn't do you any good unless you're selling and somehow cashing out. If you own more than one property, that's how you really win. Let's see. My appraisal dropped significantly. When will that affect my payment and escrow? Great question, Taylor. Thank you for asking that. Here's what's going to happen. Your property tax bill is calculated by taking the property tax value, which is the number that just dropped, and subtracting whatever exemptions are there and then multiplying whatever's left over times the tax rate. The tax rate is not going to be established until September-ish, okay? So we won't know what the other side of the equation is until about September. To keep that tax rate from going up, you got to tell your locally elected officials to not raise taxes. Tell them to adopt the no new tax rate. That's what it's actually called. But once they do that, once the city, the county, the school district comes up with their budget, they'll know how much tax revenue they need to raise. Then that's when you find out what your tax bill is going to be. It shows up in October. If you've got a mortgage, the tax assessor, which is different than TAD, the tax assessor will send that tax bill to your mortgage company directly, and then it's sometime shortly thereafter that they'll recalculate your escrow account. If it's gone up significantly, there are a number of things you can do. Call my office. We can help more ways than I even talk about. We can save people a ton of money, even if it's going up. But then you can have an escrow shortage, then it'll increase a ton, and there's all sorts. I'm just not even gonna get into that right now. Call my office if your payment's going up a ton, and don't call. Send an email, protest@chandlercrouch.com. If your email's going up a ton and you need help, I'm not going to pay it for you, but I will help you. Let's see. Hello. What up, KG? Jody. You helped us 4 or 5 years. You awesome, Jody. Sweet. Thank you. Megan found it. Jason says, is my total market value stayed the same? Is there any reason to protest? Absolutely, Jason. Now, I was saying this. Jason, if you're happy with the number and you're thinking about protesting on your own, it's okay to keep it electronic. Just don't go down in person. If your value's fair, look, they're doing this for a reason. They're putting health above a lot of stuff here. So I would just say do the same thing. But by all means, protest electronically or have us do it for you, and we're going to protest all of the ones that we're set up on. Monica says, so you are our agent of record. While our value stayed the same, the appraised value went up 16,000-ish. The reason why, Monica, is because last year your homestead saved you a bunch of money, and this year that homestead savings is it allows for it to increase 10% per year, and so you would have had to pay that additional $16,000 last year if it wasn't for your homestead exemption. That's the easiest way for me to explain that, but that sucks. Helen. I haven't looked at my taxes yet. If it stays the same or goes down, we will need to protest. You should protest anyway electronically. I'm a big fan. You're welcome to sign up with me if you want to. It's freetaxprotest.com, or you can follow my videos if you just Google Chandler Crouch. Actually, if you go to freetaxprotest.com/videos, then the top left video is how to protest on your own. It walks you through step by step. Excuse the first minute of that video. It's over the top. All right. Julie says, Megan says, my monthly escrow went up last month. Is that because the appraisal being higher? Yes, that, or because your insurance went up, which we can help with if you need help with that. Either one of those will cause it to go up. There are a number of things you can do. I can help. Email protest@chandlercrouch.com. Julie says, also, since my values do not change, should I still protest it? Yes, but don't go in person. Josh just hopped on and saw that the market value stayed the same. What up? Big win, Josh. But the appraised value increased by $20,000. I've gone over that 5 times. But it is still $5,000 under market value. Well, get ready. Next year, they're going to sock it to you again. Tasha says, how do we know if we need to protest or not? Just to be on the safe side, go ahead and protest. If you don't want to do it, just sign up, freetaxprotest.com. I don't care if you sign up or not. I'm just trying to help. If you want to do it on your own, go to freetaxprotest.com/videos. Top left video shows you how to do it on your own. How do you, if you're a red-blooded person that doesn't want to pay more than your fair share, you want to make sure you're not being overtaxed, then you should protest. That's the answer. Robert, last year, a judgment was not issued, so I could not take the case further to arbitration or court. Can the protest be done this year in a way that a judgment is issued? Robert, the reason why that happened is because, yes, the answer is yes. Robert, if I am your agent, you'll need to send me an email with that. question. If you did it yourself, just send me an email one way or the other. I can explain that. Nicole says I'd have Chandler do that. What's up, Nicole? Good to see you. And I'm about to log off because that's about all the questions, but there's still 91 people watching this. Holy moly, 45 minutes in. Lauren says $20,000 increase in Mansfield. You helped me out last year. I'll be back this year. $20,000 increase. Look, if there's enough data there to support the increase and they can't ignore it, then they're going to increase it. Like they obviously they went great lengths to abide by the law, but also to take into account everything else. There you have it. All right, one more time, grand finale. This right here is what it's all about. Go to tad.org, log in, scroll all the way down here to the very bottom. You can scroll, tab it. You'll see if you have any exemptions filed, you'll have that there. The only ones you won't see are over 65 exemptions. You scroll up a little bit more. This top line right here tells you what your values are in 2020. This one right here is the one that gets all the attention, as it should, because that's the number that the appraisal district is saying your house is worth. If you've got a homestead exemption or any exemptions filed, then this number right over here may be less than this number. And the reason is because you're getting some savings because of your exemptions. If you didn't have your exemptions filed, they would be taxing you on this whole amount. So you have to pat yourself on the back and cringe at the same time, thinking, God, thank you for that exemption, or else you'd be paying out the nose even more. Now, if this number did not go up more than $1,000, you're not going to get a value notice in the mail. If it did go up more than $1,000, then you can scroll all the way up here. You'll probably see it right here. You click that sucker, click that, and you will find it right here. And it will show up just looking just like that. You scroll down. This is the same thing I just showed you on the website. This is the actual number that they're saying your house is worth. Oh, Barbara, thank you for the reminder. I'll give you the over 65 exemption stuff in just 1 second. And here's all this. All right, I've gone on over all this stuff. You can rewind if you have it. All right, over 65 exemption. The over 65 exemption is an exemption that you qualify for when you are over 65, just to state the obvious. But there's a little bit more to it. You have to be over 65 on January 1st. Okay, if you turn 65 in the middle of the year, it's not going to take effect until after you've been there on January 1st. How do you apply for the over 65 exemption? Guess what? If you've already got a homestead exemption on your property, chances are you don't have to apply. As long as you put your actual real birth date on the homestead exemption form, whenever you filed that, it will automatically apply the over 65 exemption to your property. I find that shocking that they do that. If you have not applied, or you just want to make sure, because you can't verify, I can show you how to verify, but I'm not going to air it out over, it's illegal to disclose. I figured out, how you can check, but if you want to check, I can show you how. Just email my office. I'll show you. And the email is protest@chandlercross.com. But if you need to file that homestead exemption, the way you do it, or the over 65 exemption, the way you do it is you actually file the homestead form. And you just go here. I'll show you. You go to www.chandlercrouch.com/homestead. I put a little tutorial there. The tutorial is for the homestead exemption form, but it links to the form right here. You might find that this form is different than what Tarrant County has. I got a version of the form that's good all over the entire state. So you can use this form. And you'll see that on this form, this is the homestead exemption form, but you'll see on here, this is the same form that you use if you're 100% disabled veteran. If you're less than 100% disabled veteran, then there's another form. But if 100%, then this one. Surviving spouse of an armed service member, killed in action, all sorts of different things. And if you scroll down a little bit more, then you will find, oh dear, I'm used to seeing the TAD one. Let's see, over 65 exemption. Somebody's probably sitting there looking at it right now. And where are you at, over 65 exemptions? Oh gosh, I thought I could just go straight to it. Right here. Person age 65 or older, you just check that box and then you fill out the form. Now here's the thing with the this form. Whenever you fill it out, first of all, this gives you a little tutorial right here. Whenever you fill it out, you have to physically mail it in, and here are the different mailing addresses you would mail to. If you're in Tarrant County, this is where you mail it to. You have to physically mail it in along with some documentation. On this one, it says driver's license for the homestead form. Just go ahead and do that, mail it in, and that'll take care of it. So that's how you do it. Now, the over 65 exemption, what it does, and I said I need to brush up on my over 65 exemption stuff. This reason I haven't done a video on it is because there are a couple things a little fuzzy on. But what it does is it actually, people say it freezes your taxes. Well, it doesn't actually freeze it, and it doesn't freeze all of them. It caps the amount of taxable value, and it what the cap is it caps it at a percentage of whatever it is or whatever it should be. So the actual amount you pay stays the same for most of it. However, not all of it. Let me show you the exceptions. So let me just take this property, for example. These are the different entities that receive tax revenue for the house. Okay, so when you make your tax payment, City of Fort Worth, Tarrant County, Northwest ISD, or whoever's listed on your account, that's who gets the money. Okay. City of Fort Worth, Tarrant County, and most school districts, I think all school districts, will cap out what you pay in property tax. However, I need to double check on this, but I believe Tarrant County Hospital, Tarrant County College, and the evil water district. Oh, did I say evil? The water district. Sorry, it's not the water district's not evil, but some of the players in there need. My man Robert Montoya has been holding them accountable like white on rice in the Empowered Texans group. Man, they're all over it. But those guys are got some shenanigans going on. There, if the tax value or the taxable amount is not frozen with those entities. The good news is if you look on your tax statement here, you can see exactly how much you pay, or an estimate of how much you pay to each one of those entities. So you can see Northwest ISD is by far the biggest. The college and the hospital, I mean, that's a lot of tacos right there, but it's not a lot of money compared to the everything else. So those numbers I don't believe are frozen. So they can still go up. So it's still a good idea to protest every year. Now, here's a couple tidbits that are kind of interesting. If you're over 65 and you have your over 65 exemption on the property, then you can transfer that over 65 exemption whenever you move. And what'll happen is the percentage reduction that was frozen in place on your previous property will be transferred to your new property. Okay, so that's the over 65 exemption in a nutshell. Couple facts in there. I mean, that's generally true. I might have a detail wrong, but you can bet on that. What I just said. Something else that most people don't know about is something called a over 65 tax deferral. That's where you don't have to pay any property taxes at all, and that's a pretty sweet deal. Now, a couple catches with that. I just talked to somebody this past week who had their property taxes deferred, and Mr. Cooper is a loan servicer, and there's also another loan servicer called Freedom Mortgage. Those two servicers I know of for sure will not honor the tax deferral. So this poor lady bought her house, refinanced her house with this company, and then all of a sudden that company reneged and decided that they were going to make her pay all the property tax that she had been deferring for all those years. And that should be legal. And I will definitely talk to a legislator about getting that changed, because that's wrong. It's criminal. It should be criminal. So anyway, if your house is paid off, go ahead and do the tax deferral thing. You're in the clear. If you've got a mortgage on the property, you might want to find out what percentage of loans that mortgage company sells, and you might want to find out what their policy is on the tax deferral thing. It makes sense that they don't honor the tax deferral thing. I don't have a problem with that. The thing that I have a problem with is allowing them to become a client of theirs, to become a borrower of theirs, knowing that the tax deferral thing is there and not disclosing it up front, and making sure that they understand they're about to have to pay tens of thousands of dollars for all the back taxes. That ain't cool. All right. That's the tax deferral thing. That is totally separate from the regular tax exemption. And I'm going to get off shortly, but I'm going to answer all these questions really, really fast. Nicole says she got my email. Awesome. I'm glad that happened. I'm glad that went through. Let me see. Mr. or Ms. Lorea says, thank you for fighting for us. You got it. It's my pleasure. Barbara says, but it freezes any property taxes. I think I just went through all the different types of property taxes that does freeze and which ones it doesn't. So hopefully that answers it. If that doesn't, Barbara, let me know. Megan says, I filed my homestead exemption in January 2020. When will I see those changes on my mortgage? You filed it January 2020. So the soft deadline for that to file that is April 30th, but it's okay. You still can file. And the reason why they want you to file by April 30th is so that it shows up on your tax bill that's going to come out in October. So you'll probably see it. You'll see it on your tax bill in October. But it's going to be what you owe on that tax bill. So it hasn't been, it's not going to be applied until then. Crystal says, I filed my exemption form this year, but it's not updated yet. Yeah, it won't be. And it wouldn't, if they update it right now, it wouldn't change anything you owe. It'll change what you owe on your next bill. Lori says, Chandler, what is going to happen if the total appraised value has gone up $20,000 this year, but the market value is the same? How do we fight this? Lori, that just plain flat out sucks. And we should protest. You should protest. I should protest. Somebody should protest. And then and get it down as far as you can get it. That's all you can do. But you can't do anything about the appraised value. The only thing you can affect is the market value. But the lower you get that market, you've got to get the market value below the appraised value for it to affect your out-of-pocket costs. Nicole says, got your email? Awesome. Tax deferred sounds great if the house is paid off. You got it, Barbara. I've heard a lot of hate about reverse mortgages. But I've also heard a different spin on it. I need to get a little bit more. What's up, Miranda? I need to get a little bit more info on this. But basically, it's just an option to make your mortgage payment or not. It's like a cash out refinance without the ability to have to pay your mortgage. But, do your homework. Dave says, I didn't realize this is live. I thought it was recorded. Oops. No, what up, Dave? I'm right here for you. Brother, my number stayed the same, so I believe we won. You got it. We won. I assume we did. I'm not going to look it up right now. Miranda, I love you like a sister. I filed my homestead in December, but haven't seen any changes from it. You won't until it shows up in October. Congratulations, by the way. That is awesome that you are owning that thing. Alex says, my market value went up $25,000. This is nuts. Wow, Alex, that's a big jump. Tasha says, do you do our protests automatically? If you've done it before, do we need to do it every year? Tasha, check your email. See if you got an email from me. More than likely, I'll do it. If you log on and you see my name here, you just look up your property. You can see it right there. Then I'm going to do it for you, and you don't have anything to worry about. If I detect a problem, I will let you know. Should I refinance due to interest rates being so low? Yeah, you should. And if you need a recommendation on that, holla at me. Or you go to chandlercrouch.com/APP. Ken says, I just looked at tat.org as you were talking about, and it shows homestead exemption. How often do I need to request the exemption, or am I good? You're good. You're good. If you ever refinance or get married or spouse die or change a name or put it into a trust, all those exemptions could fall off. So you got to recheck it. And Miranda is loving on. Look, what's up, Miranda? I know you. So what's up, Miranda? All right, there we go. It's ridiculous. All right. Tasha says, yes, I got the email. Thank you. Rock on. Miranda, thank you. Taylor says, I received an email a few minutes ago. Check it out. That's what multitasking is all about. Hollering Monday. All right. Hey, y'all have a great weekend. Thank you so much. Please share this, spread the news. People, we will protest for everybody that is in our system that we're set up for. If you feel like your value is fair, just take it and run, or do the electronic protest. Don't go in person. Tad is hooking it up. We need to respect that because it's cool. And you know what? Give credit where credit's due, but don't let that stop you. Go ahead and do the electronic protest or sign up with us. We'll protest for you. And man, I'm just glad that we've got some good news in the property tax area. Thank you, and you guys rock.